Okay. Welcome to, well, not quite an unexpected live stream, but certainly one I don't know if I was expecting to make today. We're going to be talking about the new Logic Pro for Mac 12.2. And we're going to start by talking about what the heck, Apple? You guys got some numbering problems. Why did we go from 12.0.1 to 12.2? I mean, is this a typo? It's not a typo. I mean, when you go to the App Store, it definitely says 12.2. It's just really strange that we skipped 12.1 and that this update at all would even be worthy of a point update. Like, get your house in order. Start figuring out how numbering works. Okay, that aside. We're going to talk about this through the lens of the release notes for a few minutes. Although the release notes don't have everything in them, which is kind of ironic as well. I'll actually open up the App Store for a moment and let's go to the Logic page because it had one other thing on here that I think you'll find it here if you're looking at it. Maybe. Oh, where's the what's new version history right here? So the one thing that was different on the page is that it mentions the step reflex pack. It says get ready to bounce. Step reflex modern garage adds pristine polish to the iconic sound of the 90s, early 2000s UK garage with gritty bass, heavy energy, immersive ambient atmospheres, and a sprinkle of EDM magic. Awesome. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But that was part of it as well. So we got that little additional thing. By the way, when I originally went and installed that new pack, it immediately disappeared from the sound library part of Logic. It's been about an hour since I was able to install it, and it's finally back. But it seemed really strange that the whole sound library seems not that great of a tool. We're going to talk maybe about that a little bit in this stream. But let's jump into what's new for Logic Pro for Mac 12.2. First and foremost, one of the biggest complaints we had of late was about those missing presets, missing channel strips. And so now I have not installed them yet. I'm probably not going to reinstall them. There weren't anything in there that I needed for the moment. I might install them at some point, but I kind of like the new ones they're helping me focus on the channel strips that have been really designed to work with Logic 12. So I don't know if I'm going to go back and get them. There were some patches, some channel strips that I used previously, but I'm okay. I'm a forward future thinker. I don't know if I necessarily need those. So, but there are many people who are like, I really need these. I really need this one patch that is the only patch I could ever possibly use. And so there you go. You get them back. They're in. Click on Get More Sounds under Manage Packs. The very bottom, Logic Pro Legacy Patches. It's a compatibility pack. It's not like one of the other features. When I installed this, I had a bunch of these to update. It took me a little bit, so I'm not sure if those are part of the legacy patches or something else going on, but a lot of things had to be updated. And here's the Step Reflex Modern Garage Pack. Cool. And if you click on it, you'll see more than 500 loops, 10 drum machine designer kits, 28 synth sounds, and 1 live loops grid. It's about 673 megabytes. Cool. We could listen to some of that. We might not. I don't know. But the other thing we got, which is potentially cooler only if you're using spatial audio features in Logic Pro, You can now export spatial audio projects as encoded Dolby Digital Plus with Dolby Atmos and Dolby AC4 L4 MP4 files. One of the nice things about this, and I'm actually going to go, this is one of the things I really detest about the team here. It seems like we're getting different information in different places, which is cool. Whatever. But if you come here to really narrow this down for you, you can export a lightweight shareable file to preview your spatial audio mix as it will sound when streamed on Apple Music, playable on iPhone, iPad, or Mac. That's really what that means. The thing in the release notes. What that means is I can do that, share it to my phone, and listen to it using my AirPod Maxes and have access to the spatial audio without having to do anything as a workaround or pull up Logic. I mean, that alone for those doing spatial stuff is a big deal. But if you're not doing spatial stuff, then who cares? Hey, Doug. Glad I caught the live stream. Anyone know when Logic removed the drummer names? That was a bit ago now. The drummer names definitely got taken out. In fact, when that happened, I think that was 11. I think it was when 11 was released that happened. There were a number of things that happened with the drummers at the same time. Let me open up like a drummer track for a second. So the names of the drummers went away. Also, the name producer kit went away. So now we have these multi-channel kits instead of producer kits, and the names of the drummers. I mean, all that stuff changed. I think that was version 11 where that happened. But I kind of miss Kyle, and some of the other names. But at the same time, it was kind of sketchy at best to do what they did with that. It was one of those ideas that was fine, but until it wasn't fine, you know what I mean? I did a whole video about the drummer at some point and talked about all the names of them. It's it's kind of hokey, but okay, let's keep on going here. For the most part, the list of things that they fixed in Logic are the normal kind of fixes that Apple makes with Logic. Things that could cause Logic Pro to quit unexpectedly. There was a fix about Rosetta mode. It's just like a bunch of things that were small bugs. The team that works on this to find bugs in Logic is very detail oriented. I mean, there's one in here at some point. I read through the whole list, but it's like if you copy a MIDI region in front of another MIDI region that has been edited, or the edge has been slid over, it could cause this specific issue. It's like, what are the chances of that happening to most people? No, but they found a bug that was happening with, and so they certainly changed them. James is asking about control surface updates. There actually was one that's a really big deal to me. I don't know if it's fixing the thing that you were talking about, but I'll go down to it real quick. They had a couple control surface and MIDI controllers things. This is the first one, was the one that I really cared about. And it says control surfaces can now be used to control mixer channels that are not assigned to a track in the main window. Because I actually run a bunch of tracks that aren't in the main window, but they're just in the mixer. That's how aux channels typically start. I never really thought about it, but that's a really nice addition. There's one here for the fader port 2, which I don't have, so it doesn't help me. There's one that resolves an issue where a connected control surface fader could unexpectedly shift from a specific channel to the master channel. That happened to me last week. And I was super annoyed by it. I couldn't get it to work. I'm so happy they fixed that particular bug. I have two control surfaces that I use in front of me. I have the Platform M Plus with 9 faders, and then the Nectar CS12 right next to it for like a more like effects and doing things. But the 9-channel one, it's like the master fader was in the wrong place. And then there's one specifically for the chord key stage, which I do have a chord key stage. It's not connected right this second. It's in the other room, but it resolves various issues using chord key stage as a MIDI controller with Logic Pro. I wish they would do asset exchange with this keyboard, but they don't. Anyway, whoa. So that was it's nice. Here's the thing. People, we don't always need new features, right? We don't. I don't need new features every time. The list of things that they're fixing and enhancing, big deal. Another one that's actually right below this here, it says changing the order of global tracks is now possible. I just sat here this afternoon and I just like moved my tempo up to the top and my arrangement down below signature, marker down. Finally, is this a big deal? No. Did we need to be able to move the global tracks around? But it's awesome. It's like a nice little thing that I'll take advantage of and never look back, and I'll forget when we even added this because it'll feel like it was always there. That was cool. James says if they made some setup configs for more controllers, it would get more people to switch from Ableton. I don't know about that. But yes, it would certainly help. People would feel a little bit better about that for sure. Okay, so let's go back up. I know it feels like we're going to jump around. Most of these things are just stability and reliability. Things that we didn't even know were broken, like the autosave now recalls changed plugin settings made before the last manual save operation. Whoa, how many of us unknowingly may have been bitten by that bug? You know what I mean? It's like those are the kinds of things that we just don't even know are happening. And so it's like, sure, okay, awesome. Sysx faders unpacked from macros. Okay, this is like nerd alert on the beta team in the best way possible. But how many of you in the last ever have ever had a Sysx fader that you unpacked from a macro that lost its data and caused Logic Pro to quit? Raise your hand in the chat if you've ever unpacked a macro with a Sysx fader in it. Do you know where to do that in Logic? That'd be a good question. Hey, Dr. Voodoo. Thanks for the email earlier. And I agree about the old drummer names as well. Yeah. So the chord ID, that was a question that just popped up. There was an issue where if you did analyze chords on a region a second time, it could add chords to the track. I did run into that once, not on purpose. I accidentally analyzed twice and it did something weird and I had to undo both. So hopefully that's fixed. But I'm not often analyzing twice. This one, apply region chords to the chord track is applied to an empty region. The chord track now shows a root note value of a no chord as expected. That sentence barely makes sense, but I see what they're saying. And then when apply region chords to chord track is applied to two selected regions, both regions now contribute to the chord track as expected. Cool. I actually did have that issue once when I brought out two Apple loops and wanted to see if I could just get them both up there, and it didn't work. So this is nice. Another big one for some people, Apple loops. Apple loops can now be dragged and dropped into the loops browser. I think we could do that in the past, maybe, but they took it away, and some people were trying to figure out how to drop loops and to have them be organized with the loop browser. Anyway, it's here, back. James says, I use Sysx a lot. Yeah, there are people who do. Just not the majority of Logic users, I don't believe. And control surfaces rely on it quite a bit. I've recently learned that is very true. In a lot of programs, SysX and Pro Tools, unless you're using Yukon, all the kinds of things. So for sure. Just catching up the comments. I like comments. Comments are good. And then fix an issue with the loop browser could appear empty. Okay, awesome. A lot of stuff like this. A lot of just fixes. I think we've already talked now about almost all of the biggest ones. But it's like, okay, resolves an issue where Logic Pro could hang when launching in Rosetta mode. Well, I mean, there will be people who will be sad when Rosetta mode support is discontinued. I will not be one of them. I think every time we have to program this software for multiple destinations like that, it's tricky. I would love it if the iPad version and the Mac version were the same code. Why are we splitting the focus of a development team to do two different versions? You know what I mean? It's like, let's get this all unified. Let's get rid of Rosetta. Trust me, I understand the complexities for some people who need that. It would have to be paired with the addition of a functional ARA. That's, the caveat, of course, because that's why most people are using Rosetta mode, unless you're, that's why most people are using Rosetta mode, because they want to use their ARA tools that don't work currently outside of Rosetta. But a lot of other, so going up to this list here, trying to see if there's anything else that was really important. Another Rosetta mode issue. I never had it crash when I was changing the number of steps in pattern mode, but it says could quit, so not always a guaranteed. Fixed an issue where Logic Pro could quit unexpectedly after opening the audio track editor from a take that has that wasn't an issue. Yeah, some of these things, anyway, not even worth reading because it's just fixing things that should have been invisible and they will be invisible now. Dr. Voodoo says, I just want ARA to work natively without Rosetta so that people will quit crying all about it. All I hear about is ARA. I kid you not. I was in Prague last summer with my program I do there with students, and we were in a recording studio, which is an amazing recording studio. And the first thing the engineer says to me when we sit down, I just met him. He goes, when will ARA be working? I'm like, dude, stop. I agree with Dr. Voodoo on this. When will ARA be working? Oh my gosh. That was the most insightful thing you've ever said. James says, everything can hang in Rosetta. That's what I mean. Oh, everything. They're working on Ultrabeat still. Take note of this. Sometimes we think of these old plugins as being there for legacy reasons, and then they go and fix bugs in them, That's cool. I'm in. ES1 got an issue where the modulator MIDI plugin to modulate the ES1 octave parameter could lead to loud clicks. How many of you have used the modulator MIDI plugin to modulate the ES1 octave parameter? It's a good idea. Come up with some really cool. Honestly, I would use an arpeggiator and play two keys. That's how I would do that. I don't need but there are reasons a modulator might make more sense. Flex. It is now possible. So Flex I think these are useful. Let me think. It is now possible to edit flex pitch notes in a take folder the first time the folder is open. I can't tell you how many times in the past I open it, try to do flex pitch, and it doesn't do anything. And then I think, is this not a feature that's there? This will remind me now. And then changes to the position of flex markers and takes are now shown in the audio track editor. Cool. Couple like nice things. By the way, next one, session players fixes an issue where the sequenced bass session player could unexpectedly play notes in the wrong key. That has been happening to me all week. So I do a demonstration at the university about this, and the bass player is playing wrong notes, and I'm just like, okay, what is happening? I don't even know what was. They don't say exactly the scenario, but it just says it's fixed now. But seriously, it's hard to instill a lot of faith in people in the session players when the bass player is playing in the wrong key. Although it did feel a lot like having a real bass player in the room. Bass player jokes are the best. Sorry if you're a bass player. I'm sure that wasn't you that was playing in the wrong key if you're a bass player. Let's see. Doug says, has there been any talk of a feature in Logic Drummer to give us a prompt to create a drum pattern similar to Suno? I would love this feature. No. I mean, there's no talk of it. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Did you know ChatGPT can create MIDI files of drums that are in any pattern you want? You could say, hey, do this in this style, and it'll make you a MIDI file of a whole song if you want. I mean, ChatGPT is great at MIDI. It's still taking a lot of its information about what the pattern should be from Reddit. So you're taking your chances. Yeah, Dr. Voodoo. I actually did that once myself, where I put the transposer MIDI effects and locked it in. That's such a useful MIDI effect, by the way. My favorite is playing in tricky keys and then realizing that I've made the music too complex and then just switching my key into C and then having it play whatever key it wants. I mean, that's such... Anyway. And then the session player character picker now reliably opens when clicked. I didn't have that issue, but cool. And then crash cymbal stops now work correctly in multi-channel instances of drum kit. I haven't run into that one either, or at least I don't know I have. But lately I've been doing a lot without the multi-channel instances. I feel like you can get so far along with just the stereo version in most cases, but it is nice to have the multi-channel ones. Something about the binaural rendering with headphones are saved in the project correctly. Transparent mode and mastering assistant now works when at 192 kilohertz sample rate, which none of you should be working at most of the time. Anybody working at 192 kilohertz sample rate? I'd be loving to know. Nope. Nope is my answer too. It is stupid. If I was working on a piece of music, I do installation art sometimes with an artist in Denver. I've done a couple pieces of music that have, some extreme pitch shifting kind of things. I would work at 192 for that because the sample rate, the sampler and things work differently at the high sample rates, or when I'm recording an audio piece at 192 and then I want to slow it down. It sounds different than if you do it at 48. That's the only time is when I need extreme pitch shifting for creative uses. Chris is cool. I mean, there are reasons that people want to do it. 192, but most people on an average day should not, is what I'm thinking. That's my opinion piece for the day. Let's see. Live loops, something about the naming takes in live loop cell works correctly now. Step sequencer patterns with more than 16 steps are now saved correctly. They were not saved correctly before. Makes you wonder. The view in an open takes folder containing a large number of takes no longer jumps to the top when vertically zooming. I've actually noticed that. Interesting. MIDI resolves an issue where sending certain MIDI CC messages could prevent some MIDI notes from sounding. Not run into that, but I'm only using like 4 of the different CCs at any given moment. I know other people use a lot. Editing. Okay. Let's see. Fixes an issue where performing a region edit could unexpectedly activate the clip length region setting as a default. Interesting. Nope, not me. The audio track editor now updates to show currently selected region as expected. Snap to scale in MIDI editors now works correctly. Anybody run into what it was doing before? I'd love to know. Sysx manufacturer IDs are now correctly displayed in the event list. Resolves an issue. Where pasting MIDI events to the left of a region that has been shortened to exclude MIDI events on the right could unexpectedly lengthen the region. Have not had that happen. Pasting MIDI events to before the left of a border of a selected region now extends the border. Cool. I mean, these are all just like really specific. The no overlap now works reliably when dragging audio files on top of existing audio in a track. I do use this, and I did notice every once in a while I'd have to do it twice. Resolves an issue where dragging notes downward in the piano roll could cause them to scroll out of view. I hated that. When I saw this was fixed, I was very happy because it's like I'm trying to move something and all of a sudden you just like, woof, and it's like you're out of view. I hated that. So I'm glad that they fixed that. And then dragging a note upward beyond the currently visible area in the piano roll now works correctly. We're getting like little teeny quality of life things that were broken before. We already read the control surfaces. We don't need to do that again. The last section, the links to the Logic Pro effects and Logic Pro instrument user guides in the help menu now work as expected. I didn't know they were broken, but that's cool. This is where we read about the changing of the order of global tracks is now possible. Awesome. That's probably my favorite thing in the whole update. It is now possible to quit Logic Pro when the sound pack details sheet is open. Cool. I was asking for that feature. I'm just kidding. I was not. Audio files copied from the Finder now correctly paste into the tracks area. I didn't have an issue with this, so maybe I did. Since it was a bug, I haven't had that issue. Fixes an issue where revert to defaults in the track header could increase its width. The secondary time ruler now displays as expected after copy section between locators is performed. So specific. And then sorting regions in the project audio window now works as expected. That's it. Why did they call this 12.2? Unless that's just a typo and they realized it too late and couldn't change it. Somebody should be talking about that at the next staff meeting at Logic Pro headquarters. WT. Okay, so all of that aside, the Get More Sounds is one of the most useless features in the whole Logic ecosystem right now. Sure, if you don't have everything installed and you're like, what should I install this week? You're like, ooh, let's listen to Chromium Fray. And probably I could get copyright struck for just playing what I just did. I hope not. Don't remind me not to play any more of those. That would be bad. Because, it'll probably just make it silent there. Those are like finished songs in a way. Probably. Anyway. But you could listen to them, but you can't see. They don't even have a list of anything in here that's useful. A little description and telling us how many Apple loops they are. Like, what would be so hard about actually giving us the information, letting us listen to each of the loops here, decide which ones we wanted to install or download. Instead, you have to do this whole thing. You get this teeny little preview, It's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors with fancy graphics here, but completely useless. Completely useless. Yeah, this doesn't really tell us anything. I don't like it. I think the potential is completely wasted on what you could be doing with this. So that's one thing. There was something else I was going to mention as well, but I don't know. What does everybody think? And James, there's something about, so you're saying more template projects, less loops. There's something about the loops, though, that I find right now is kind of an interesting workaround, maybe, I think, because maybe they're over in the other section too as channel strips, but not always. And what I'm talking about is if I click on like a MIDI loop, right? I saw this online. Someone says that if you bring out a loop onto the main window, that you actually, there's a bug that turns it into audio. And it's not true, I don't think. Because what's probably happening is they're doing this. Let's click on this 80s dance bass synth. They probably drag it over to here and are like, it turns it into an audio file. It's 100% true. They do. But if you just drag it out here into the window, then it brings it as a MIDI file and doesn't convert it to an audio file. But then you actually get the instrument and a channel strip of effects. You can actually delete the loop. You don't need that, but you can make... Right, so we have access to the instrument. We don't need to use the MIDI loop part of it. So in a way, the Apple loops are both loops and channel strips simultaneously. And once you think of it that way, then some of the loops actually are just a way to preview that sound. And then you can pick and choose from them. So they're actually really useful in some ways. And now that we have... it's like now that we have this other ecosystem of everything else that's happening inside Logic. So this is probably one of those. Right? We have some of these loops that are just like what they are. But all of a sudden we can bring it out. We can have the chords analyzed. We can do a stem split. These things all make these loops incredibly valuable considering we have 34,000 of them. You know what I mean? And so these other tools inside Logic make these loops more valuable. And so for that reason, I install all the loops when I have space because it increases the what I can do using all of the other ecosystem of what Logic offers, which is vast. Let's see. I have a problem getting stuck with loops instead of songs. Probably a skill issue on my part. I've talked about that a lot on some of my song night streams. I think everybody at some point in their life has made a few 8-bar songs, right? We make 8-bar songs. What I do almost always is use the arrangement markers in Logic to help build a song form before I build any of the song. And it helps me really stretch out the ideas into a song before I get stuck on an 8-bar loop. So it's one of those things that's really cool. And then David says, assuming it correctly identifies the chords. I've given up hoping for that. Although this one didn't have chords initially. So D minor, E minor 7, flat 5. I've given up hope that it's going to get the nuances of some of the more complex things. If you want to take a really complex chord structure, the simplicity of the chord track is not the thing for you. It's not. Because it's just the session players are not going to play with that kind of nuance in the first place. Doesn't matter. So you can make chord tracks and add all your chords, but it's not really going to help with any part of the process. What they're doing with the chord track is making it relatively simple. And 9 times out of 10, I'm using the chord track to add a bass to something because I want to play my own keyboard anyway. And a bass doesn't need all of the extended harmonies most of the time. And so I'm able to get the bass to do what I want with the analysis that it does. Or the synth player. Again, every once in a while we might want something more complicated with that, but I'm not using it for like a piano style thing most of the time. I find most of the session instrument piano patterns to be insufferable. Um, Overly complex for no reason, adding things that are like caricatures of the styles that they're written in, things like that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think it's still doing sus chords. Let's see. Saving your own green apple loops is super useful for workflow. I use them for drum and percussion loops. Cool. Do 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 do. No Mingus. Nope. Definitely not. Jazz is not something Logic speaks. It's a little too square for jazz. Oh, what a good group of chatty people. This is the best kind of conversation we have. Doug says, I've been trying out Easy Drummer 3. The sound quality is great. Yes. I think some of the default presets in Easy Drummer 3 are better. However, we have all of the raw tracks in Logic's with the multi-output drummer in Logic. And so I actually like that it's encouraging us to like mix that ourselves and get the sounds we want. I think you can have great sounds with the Logic drummer. They're just not going to hand it to you on a platter, is what I'm finding. Am I going to do a Reason 14 stream? Yes. But not until I gotta, I think I'm okay to use the beta on the streams. I'd hate to find out that I'm not, because I am on the beta for Reason. But I also don't know if I want to install it until the stable or install it on my stream computer until the stable version comes out. Because that's a thing on this computer. I like to just keep the stable versions, but I don't know. It looks awesome. I was hoping so. Reason makes me greedy in terms of instruments and MIDI effects and things. It's got great instruments and great MIDI effects, and that's like I love the creativity of using that tool. However, the only thing that Reason 14 is bringing out is a new reverb, and Logic has like 9 reverbs. And so I'm going to be shocked if it does something that we can't do as easily or better in Logic with that reverb. However, it looks like they're upping their game in terms of their workflow in the actual Reason app. I use Reason Rack most of the time. I do have the full version, so I don't just have the Reason Rack. But the piano roll looks like it got a little bit better. But some of it's like I've tried Reason after all these years, and you can't do some things that I want to do. It's not as intuitive for songwriting, things like that. Okay, good question. But Reason is cool. I use the Reason Rack in Logic, and this is everybody's favorite word. Don't tell anybody, but I subscribe. And I like that because now with the Reason Hub, for that same price I've been paying this time for the Reason Rack every month, I now get I get the subscription or the distribution for free. and some other tools for free that are interesting. Um, the distribution. I plan on doing a lot of music this year, and so it's nice to be able to just click and release and have the Lander distribution team put it out there. Eh. I think Rebirth. I think Rebirth is not something you have to get with that. Man, what was I thinking about Rebirth recently? No, it's not in the App Store. I thought maybe it was. I thought it's a free thing, I thought, but maybe I'm wrong. Interesting. Yeah, Rebirth is standalone, but it doesn't come with Reason. Behringer. I've got a TD3 sitting right over here someplace. Yeah, just have one sitting around. I love this thing. It's cool. I need to hook it into my system. But these units have cool sounds and are fun to program. Put that down there. Oh, recycle's free. That's what you're right, James. That's what I was thinking. Not Rebirth. But maybe did they have Rebirth as an app on an iPad? I'm pulling up my iPad to see if I can't remember. Sorry for the short interlude, but I'm checking this out. I'm trying to remember where. No, not there. I can't remember. Maybe it's just not something that's I'm thinking the right thing. Cool. Yeah, maybe that was it. I wonder if it's in my. Where's my purchase apps? Man. Come on, little iPad. You can open. Made the password too hard. Let's see. Purchase history. Oh, yeah, there it is. I still have it on here. Glad I wasn't totally crazy. Rebirth. Yeah, so I have Rebirth installed on my iPad. The Korg IMS 20 is also being shuttered. Jeez. I have that installed on my phone or my iPad as well right now. I keep all those on there. They're all. So when the iPad was first out and all these companies were like, ooh, we can make money. Let's port all these things over to the iPad. And then turned out that nobody was making money as far as I can tell because almost all of the originals have been stopped in terms of development. Like all the most recent updates are like years ago. And it's just kind of a bummer because I really did like it. But a company's got to make financial decisions, and I get that. So, like, what am I going to say about it? I don't know. Nothing. Eek. So, we got 12.2, really no new features except for the spatial audio and then the return of things that were in previous versions, and one new sound pack. One new sound pack. Oh, I'm so glad that they want to go subscription model on this thing. That's the best. So Tigres says, do you have an iPad app you like for just messing around while trying to fall asleep or during downtime other than Logic for iPad? Because I'm poor and can't do this subscription thing. You're talking to the wrong person for things to mess around with before bed because I keep my teenage engineering OP1 field next to my bedside table. And that's what I mess around with before I go to sleep. But you're saying you don't want to spend money and that thing's not cheap. But that's my go-to for like things. I love you can like turn on the radio on it and like sample it into like drum machines and then turn them into new instruments. And it's just so much fun. It's like if Logic were a piece of hardware, it would be one of the teenage engineering devices. Um, yeah, GarageBand is free and it's pretty nice for that kind of messing around. Um, let me see though. Let me answer your actual question because I do think I don't want to just blow that off, but let me look real quick and see which of the things I would mess around with. The Model 15 Moog is something I do love messing around with. The Nave from Waldorf is one that I mess around with and just dink around with. Um, I don't know. I mean, Logic's too busy of a screen to really just dink around with on the iPad. Yeah, those are probably the ones that I would say. Audulus 4 is a little too complex just to mess around with, but it's really fun. The Mi Rec is another big synth that's kind of fun to mess around with. Oh, Gadget. I have the full version of Gadget. It's not installed right now, but that one's fun. I like the Gadget so much that I went out and bought all of the core gadgets for Logic. So now it's like I can come through on my, it's like take the simplicity of some of these instruments and get to use them in your Logic projects. How cool. It wasn't too expensive, maybe like 120 bucks or something. But some of these are just like incredibly fun to mess around with. I'm trying to think of the Helsinki. I mean, this thing. Yeah, I love all these like little Korg instruments. They're cool. um, Patterning is a cool app. Yeah, I think I've seen that one. Alchemy and iPhone until Apple bought it. Boo. Um, I actually really love some of the smart instruments in GarageBand and the fact that you can. I wondered if they were ever going to bring some of those smart things, and we kind of got them with the session player. But there's things on the iPad version of GarageBand that Logic still can't do in terms of the string sections and things and the guitars. I mean, we have smart guitars on GarageBand I for the iPad, but we don't have them on Logic. So it's really strange how that works out. Um, let's see, James was asking Drambo. I have it on. No. The Korg synth that I just picked up was Helsinki. It's part of Gadget, but you can get all the Gadget ones as desktop plugins. Aurora DSP Rhino plus Mammoth. I haven't seen that. I'll check it out. Yeah, some of the stuff on the iPad or the GarageBand is really good. I just don't know why they haven't fully pulled the trigger on moving it into Logic. Maybe it will happen at some point. Yeah, James, definitely you get everything, which is nice. But there's a lot of stuff in here which I've used in a couple of cases. For instance, the guitar I've used every once in a while, Santa Ana. It's like not super deep, but it's just deep enough. Right. So where we don't have a guitar thing in Logic, we have something really simple that can just do some rhythm type stuff. And it has enough to really make me want more, if that makes sense. So it's cool. All these instruments, there's so many companies out there doing interesting things. I worry about something like this from Korg because the website looks like it's barely updated. Um, I wonder if I need to go into the account at some point and see if I have new things to download or updates. I really hate having things I have to chase down for updating, but such is life of an audio person. um, and a lot of those you can get upgraded versions if you want to do other things with it. So, like David is talking about, the Korg ARP Odyssey is really nice. I can't remember. I think. Let me look under here. So, the Lexington is the Odyssey. This is the simplified one, and then you can actually like get the full ARP Odyssey from them, and it has like a lot more of the features. But it's like the flavor of the Odyssey in a small package. And then you can go buy the full version from them if you want. That's cool. I think it's an awesome purchase. Let's see. Dr. Voodoo says, I remember there was an older live stream, maybe video, where you mentioned Roland JV 1080 plugin that it really speaks to you. Do you remember the context of why you said that? Yes. I'm not currently on the Roland payroll, but I could be if I reached out. They give me, as an educator, I can get a free license a year at a time for as long as they do it. The context is that I was using all the Roland stuff and I had it all installed and I just loved the 1080. It was the first outboard sound module that I ever used in my whole life at the university where I was studying. And I didn't even know at the time what it meant or how to use it. But somebody was like, you got to try like the piano on this thing. And it was like, whoa, amazing. I wouldn't mind buying a 1080 online if they weren't all ancient now. But you can get the software version, and the Roland team exact cloned it, and so it is that sound. But there's still something about having like a hardware unit next to you and you're pushing the buttons. I like that better. That's what I was talking about, I'm sure. Korg looks like they like that with the instruments they just released. Cool, cool, cool. They market half off twice a year. The Triton and M2 sound great. Don't sleep on the Chaos Pad as an audio unit plugin. And I've done a number of videos on the IDAM protocol, which is the ability to attach your iPad to your computer through the USB-C cable. And that cable then allows you to add it as an audio device either as an aggregate or as the sole audio input. And the MIDI from Logic goes out to the iPad and the sound comes back, and it's just like a hardware unit inside your software. It's a really cool way to work. The timing sometimes is a little sketchy, but overall it works really well. Mouse is preaching Logic as the best MIDI handling of any DAW in history. I mean, sure. I'm not going to argue. It sometimes has had some issues, but I don't know. MIDI has always been a strength of Logic for sure. The other plugins which I really like, these aren't as many instruments as they are like the audio effects, but let's see. I really like all of, in terms of old school things, I love the Eventide collection. I'm a huge fan. Another one that I used in the studio back in the day was the H3000. And nothing makes me feel like I'm back in school faster, unless it doesn't load up. Yeah. Than pulling this thing up with that big knob and a teeny little screen, which we have in software the ability to expand, but they didn't really make this look fancy. They made it kind of look as impossible to use as the original, but the sound quality, the things that this thing could do at the time that it came out were unmatched anywhere else. And so how cool is it to have some of those? I'm a huge nostalgic audio person. I think nostalgia speaks to us when we're creating. And so I think it's important to embrace it rather than to fight it, because the things that you feel naturally as humans should play a part in the production process. And if you don't listen to your own music and have feelings about it, then how is anybody ever else going to? And at that point, it's still going to be a small percentage of people who feel anywhere near what you do. But hopefully, you're triggering some of those feelings in other people as you create. I will say it's really nice. There's two things that I do in my life that I'm really grateful for. One of them is being a college professor because apart from the biggest part, which is teaching students and having a career doing that, which I love more than anything, um, companies, especially with expendable things like software, I call that expendable because um, they build it once, they have to update it, but to give somebody a copy of it doesn't cut into like the major profits. Not really. Not the same way as a piece of hardware. Hardware is much different. But software is easy. So I can almost write any company, say I'm a professor who teaches, can you send me something that I can show in my classes? And um, most places are like, sure, we'd love for you to show your students. Eventide is really great with students. I'm actually on the Eventide Educators Advisory Board. So when they do a new piece of software, they have a new reverb, which is incredible. It's all it's built differently, using harmonic content and structure in a way that no other reverb has. It sounds incredible. And you can use it in incredible ways. But when they first release it, they call together all their educator advisors, and we get to meet and talk, and they give us a copy of it. The other thing that I'm really happy about is YouTube. I don't make a lot of money on YouTube, it turns out. I don't know if you know how YouTube works, but I far more care about you and talking to you, and I don't always make videos about some of the other things. I am considering, don't hate me, Dr. Voodoo, but I'm considering, I've been invited by Suno to be one of their, like, kind of like brand ambassadors online. I get to do their software and get access to things early and spread the good word. They reached out because I've done some videos on Suno, as some of you know, and those videos do really well. They do well because people are interested in it. I think YouTube is interested in normalizing AI music creation. So those two things go together, and we all get a lot of people watching those videos. But I'm really off of AI music for the moment. I don't know. It doesn't scratch any of the itches I need scratched, if that makes sense. I know you do. I know you hate me, Dr. Voodoo. You hate it when I make certain videos, but you've told me that in a very open way, and I appreciate the honesty. And you'll notice I haven't made as many of them, but I haven't been making many videos at all of late. I went out and saw my daughter at college this last weekend in Utah, and that was a good experience. That's where I went to school in Utah for my undergraduate degree, and I loved the program there. It was really good. My building that I worked in most of the time had been uh, torn down several years ago. I wasn't there anymore, so I couldn't really reminisce in the studio that I worked in, but they have new studios, which are really amazing. Um, but it was like I've been taking some time away from YouTube. When I get close to burning out, I just snuff it a little bit so I can come back fresh. I think it's really important. Um, but I've been doing a lot more streams than anything else. And the streams are because if I'm just talking to myself and a camera in my studio room and making content, then that doesn't scratch the itch I need scratched right now. And the what I need is to get on and talk about Logic and have some people there and we converse and communicate. By the way, if you haven't already, join our Discord. The link is in the description. It's been a slower start, which I like, but there's a couple people really contributing, and we want more people to contribute. And it's just nice. Some people are talking about stuff outside of Logic a little bit, but mostly we're Logic centric. No politics are allowed because that's not what Logic is about in my mind. It's about making music and expressing and having a community. So join our Discord. It's a safe place to ask questions and share what you're working on and get better at this thing called Logic Pro. Let me see some more comments. James says people want to be creative, showing them the tools to do it is a good thing, but eventually they will need to learn the nitty gritty, certain things obscure. Yes, I know what you meant with that. And then in all seriousness, I think the whole AI thing is inevitable. No point in hating on it. I think, sorry to add a word, I think everyone should start learning to navigate a future with AI in it. Otherwise, just give up. I don't know. I think there's going to be a mixture of things. Top 40 music is a perfect example. None of us in this video chat are going to be likely top 40 artists. There's a certain image and process and bankroll that has to happen, right? I mean, that's not the goal probably of most of us. I wouldn't mind at some point if one of my songs was picked up by somebody and sang by a top 40 artist, but I never want to be one. I don't have any interest in the pressure that comes with that or the image expectations or the unhealthy need to like do certain things to achieve it. That's not me. I am interested in people building careers if they want to out of music. You don't need to be a top 40 artist to have a career. You just need to have, in some cases, as few as 100 loyal fans that are willing to spend money on you, and in most cases, 1,000. And that's actually really doable for almost all of us if we wanted to get the fans to do that and actually earn a living. And when you release something that people listen, if you want to go play a concert that people come, if you want to sell sweatshirts and hats and CDs that people buy them, you could build a nice career off of that. It's possible. So I think that's the group, the one that wants to have a meaningful community around their art. Let's start there for our goal. Let's not talk about. So the reason I bring that up is because AI, sure, it's going to be a part of our industry. It's already a part of it. And I'm likely going to become, a Suno brand person because I think there's some parts of it that are incredibly interesting. And the company as a whole is doing some things which I did not expect, which is actually try to make features for musicians. That was unexpected, but they are doing it. I've seen the plans. And so that's interesting. I did not see it coming. They have a heart. They have a heart of a musician. And they're just trying to do something cool. But that's going to be like the top 40 stuff, right? In a way, it's going to be like one tier of the industry. And there's going to be this other group and other communities of people who play music for whatever they need it to be. And AI doesn't replace it. It doesn't replace any of it. Yeah, Dr. Voodoo, we talk. So at the school here, we talk about the 1,000 fans, right? But I expand on that with my students because 1,000 fans feels far away, and 100 seem a lot closer. Um, I think there's different ways of looking at it. I'm looking back at comments. Have they fixed the way Logic Pro? I don't know. I don't know the question to that. Do not. I haven't looked at the iPad release notes or installed the whatever is coming with that. LA Winter says, I would love to see a video on Suno using it to just generate percussion and transitions or the little not sexy tools that actually help producers. Have you all seen, by the way, the new Suno features that were like last week, maybe, where you can record your voice and it'll start making the songs it generates using your voice instead of its generic voices? That's interesting. I think it's interesting. And it's useful for someone who's trying to do some song demos of what they want to hear it in their own voice. I did a video on taking drum stems from Suno and dealing with the tempo issues. Yeah, I don't. So, to be clear, sometimes I make videos on things I'm really interested in, but don't actually use them on a day to day basis. I find the drums in Suno sound really artifacty most of the time. What I need, oh man, I was so jealous of Cubase. I think it was Cubase. Oh man, maybe it wasn't. Cubase or Fender Studio. Someone tell me if you know. But they have the new tool that takes the drums and converts them into MIDI for each of the parts. That's what I want in Logic next. I want them to be able to say, as a part of the stem extraction, to give us MIDI for the drums. The MIDI output from Suno sucks. You heard it from me. It's not reliable. It's not great. So what I need is something in Logic that can look at a drum loop and just give me MIDI for all the hits, and then I can assign them to the notes. So then I would develop a way to work with Suno, perhaps, where I'm making drums in different styles that we don't have in Logic. And I can listen to it, adjust it, bring it into Logic, have it converted to MIDI, and assign it to the drums that I wanted to assign it to. There's other ways to do it, but I wish it was easier. I wish it was easier. Yeah, there are ways, but for me, the ease of it is important because if I can just create what I need using the session player drummer, then I'm going to do that instead of going someplace else with a complex system. I don't need more complex systems in my life. And so it's like I'm tired of waiting for Apple to give us more genres on the drummer, because that's not happening, right? When did we get the drummer in Logic? Was it 2015, like 11 years ago? I can't remember. I think it was a long time ago. And we've never really gotten new genres in there. Not because they can't, but for some reason they won't. I'll check that out. Sam Blab. That sounds like what I do on the stream. Sam Blabs. Samp Lab. I'll check it out. But again, I'm not going to reach for another tool when I can do programming and things. It's like I'd rather sit with the step sequencer and just program out the drums I need most of the time. And in fact, my next musical project that I'm brainstorming right now is unlikely to have any kind of complicated drums. Matter of fact, it may be a drum-free project, and or if I do drums, very simple ones. I'm doing a new book. I've written a lot of books, and the new one is all about storytelling. And so I'm preparing for some of the musical examples for that particular project. Just storytelling in the music production process. And so my musical stuff will mirror that, I think. Man, awesome information you're all sharing. I love that part. I also want to get maybe like a MIDI drum kit and actually learn how to play drums. I'm not too old, I don't think. I'm too busy to learn how to play guitar, but I think I might have fun hitting things. We've been going, let's see. I think I need to how long have we been going? I can't even get there. Where's my screen? An hour and 11 minutes. Okay. We've totally digressed into other things. But thanks for joining. I think this is a good time to maybe pull the plug. I'm going to mess around with the new version of Logic 12.0.2, which is not the name of it, but it's what I'm calling it in my head because there's no way they meant to go to 12.2, skipping 12.1 completely and forgetting to add new features when you go up to a full point. Somebody at Logic's getting fired. I mean, maybe they meant to. What a weird situation. But if you are just joining and you wanted to actually go through the release notes, we did that in the first part of the video. So go back and rewatch it, like, I don't know, 1,000 times. That's what's going to take me to get me enough money to buy a sandwich for lunch next week. I'm joking. But really good for all of you here. I love these conversations. And this is why I'm doing this, is because I like talking to you all and commiserating and screaming, hitting our heads against the wall. But also, I mean, Logic is just an amazing piece of software in spite of the quirks that are there. And nobody can tell me otherwise. But thanks, everybody, for watching. And I'll catch you on the next one. If there's anything interesting in the iPad version, it'll be a couple of days, but maybe we'll do one of those at some point. But talk to you later, everybody. Have a good night.